17 years in the NFL, which now because of Brady, you roll your eye, 17 years. At the time, Warren Moon and Ron Jaworski were the guys that seemingly played forever, and that's when you could grab the quarterback, throw the quarterback, slam him into the turf. He had a great career at ESPN. Now he covers the Eagles. Jaws does for NBC in Philadelphia. It is great to see him again. I just found out he owns 7 golf courses, so I know who to hit up if I ever go out east to Jersey. Let's start with this. I have been surprised with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. They're real. There's no question in my mind now this is a real team. I do worry, though, Jaws, as you know, with your teams, tackle positions, Lane Johnson doesn't play. It is not the same offense. Do they need a bye week? Is this a team that desperately needs a bye week, in your opinion?
Well, it gives you your best opportunity to win the Super Bowl, go into the playoff games healthy with a bye week. First of all, Colin, let me say, great to be with you once again. I remember those fun days we had at ESPN every Sunday morning, so It was a great time. But when I look at this Eagle team, it might be the deepest roster in the NFL. I know that, it sounds like a homer type call, but Howie Roseman has really developed a deep roster on this football team. Now, they lost 2 games in a row. Jalen Hurts has been hurt, and obviously there's going to be a fallback when Gardner Minshew is your quarterback.
Right.
But my concern is the secondary right now. It's a tremendous pass rushing defense. They're only 4 sacks away from the 84 Bears record, yet they don't get interceptions in the secondary.
Right.
I mean, you got 4 defensive line with 10 sacks or more, and yet the secondary is not coming up with interceptions. And I know there's been Gardner Johnson gets hurt, Devontae Maddox gets hurt. They've had some injuries, but if I look and spin it forward and say what concerns me is some of the elite quarterbacks in this game now, when you have a weakness in the secondary and they're not playing their best, you can be exploited. Yeah,
is there a team, I think you guys match up well with everybody. Niners are a tough matchup for everybody. Is there a route that would concern you? I mean, Green Bay now has got a run game going, but they don't have much of a deep, they're not going to score quickly. Is there a matchup issue? I mean, what if you played Dallas again? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think most people looked at the Eagles' loss to the Commanders, the Washington Commanders, as kind of a blueprint, as we like to say, for how do you beat the Eagles. Well, Washington controlled the ball for 40 minutes. 40 minutes. They ran the ball. They just smash mouth football. It wasn't explosive plays. It was 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4, move the chains. They kept the ball away from Jalen Hurts and tremendous weapons that he has to throw to. So if you look at teams that can have balance on offense, the ability to control the clock with the running game, the time of possession, and still get explosive plays, that would be, in my opinion, the way to challenge the Eagles' defense.
So when you look at what Brady's doing as somebody who played for 17 years, you and Warren Moon played forever. Generally, I've been told by quarterbacks, the legs go. You could probably in your 50s throw a beautiful out pattern. It's the legs and the commitment to off-season. You just get tired of it. Go to your last year. Do you remember because I think Brady's got 1 or 2 left. Do you remember your last year? What went? What couldn't you do?
I do. I do, Colin. I was with the Kansas City Chiefs in 1989, and I remember just hanging on. I was a starting quarterback in 1989 with the Chiefs, and I just knew it. I knew I had to do everything I possibly could just to get velocity on the football. The arm strength was diminished. But I will say this about Brady. I've done some Brady games over the last couple of years. His arm strength has not diminished. That may sound crazy, but he still fires the football. Whenever I do a game with Brady, I make sure I'm down there on the sideline. I want to see him throwing the football. How's he spinning? How's he rotating? His mechanics are impeccable, second to none. No one is better mechanically than Tom Brady. And, we all know the stories about, his way he takes care of his body and his eating habits and things like that. The guy's in incredible health. So I think Tom Brady could play a couple more years.
Yeah. So there's been this discussion. I asked Drew Bledsoe earlier today about Mac Jones and the body language. I do think it matters. I mean, even, when they select juries, they're looking for body language. Your attorney will tell a client, don't roll an eye, dress this way. I mean, that stuff matters. You cross your arms. It's a defensive position. This is people that do this for a living. I never liked Jay Cutler's body language. I didn't like it at all. I don't like Kyler Murray's. Mac Jones is a barker. Does it bother you? Are you okay with a little bit of barking as a quarterback? Did you bark?
No, I was passionate about what I did, but I wasn't a barker. And I agree with your point about sulking, head down, don't you look disinterested. It just sends a bad message. I think body language can force people to get a different perception of who you really are. There's always going to be a time you bark. It's the heat of the game. Those things do happen. But when you sulk, put your head down, that's the body language that bothers me the most.
So when you kind of look at the playoffs going into it, the NFC feels weaker. The AFC's got so many of the great young quarterbacks. If there was an NFC team that would surprise anybody, I mean, Detroit could still get in. Now, take the Eagles out of it because they're not going to surprise anybody. But is there an NFC team you look at and think, I don't know, I wouldn't want to play them. Yeah, I don't know. They worry me.
There is no doubt the Green Bay Packers. They're a well-coached football team. People talk about Aaron Rodgers all the time. I think Joe Barry's a fine defensive coach. They do a lot of really good things on defense. They're getting healthier. They have the B word, balance. They can run the football. And, of course, they have Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers will rip your heart out. He will rip your heart out. He's a fiercely competitive guy. I've been around him enough. He's been mad at me in production meetings, for things I've said on TV. That's how Aaron is. Whatever he has to do to get himself motivated for Sunday or Saturday, whenever the game's going to be, he will get himself all lathered up. That's how he plays the game, with tremendous passion, tremendous focus, and he has great God-given skills.
Yeah. You played in an era. I remember video of Joe Montana being slammed into the turf. Bradshaw, a big man. It was different. This was not, contextually, wasn't as violent a hit as like a Drew Bledsoe took on the sidelines.
Yeah.
But your takeaway on the Demar Hanlon situation and the time, did you ever have a moment in your career where you were literally scared for yourself or a teammate?
No, I've been knocked out twice. But never to the point where it was, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. Injuries happen. That's just part of the game, and there's a warrior mentality for every one of us that played the game. What I found out interesting, just before I came out with you, Colin, they were talking to the doctors that, did the whatever they were doing, with the CPR and everything else on Demar. But when he came out of it, and he can't talk, he's got a tube in his throat, but he was writing and he wrote, "Did we win?"
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? That says it all. That's that warrior football mentality. The guy was, probably dead for a few seconds, but he's worried about, did we win the game? Doesn't that tell you something about the guys that play this game and how honorable they are? That was the first words out of his mouth. Did we win the game?
Yeah, and you said you were knocked out twice. Was there ever a moment when you thought, because you played for 17 years, when you came to, or the following week with your wife, was there ever a moment you thought, I'm gonna close it down? I'm worried about my health.
No, I in hindsight, I probably wish I would have done it. You got to think back into that era.
Yeah.
The NFL has done such a great job of cleaning the game up and making it less dangerous, and the concussion protocols are phenomenal. The tents behind the bench, all that. I mean, it always comes across as funny, but I don't mean it to be funny. When the head trainer would come out in the field and you see the stars and twinkling a little bit, and he'd say, "What's your wife's name?" And you go, "Liz." "How many fingers?" 2. "Okay, you're all right."
Yeah.
That was kind of the concussion protocol. And I don't mean it sounds like I'm making fun of it, but that's kind of what it was. We've come a long way with our medical professions and dealing with these fine-tuned professional athletes.
Ron Jaworski, NBC in Philadelphia. The Eagles are for real. It's an absolute pleasure. You're crushing it in the golf industry. Jersey and Pennsylvania. It's great seeing you again. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.